Many people believe that modern ships are impervious to all types of storms and waves, but is this really the case? How do different ships handle the fierce storms on the high seas? Today, we'll explore this topic together. In this video, I'll present you with some of the rarest footage of ships battling the most powerful storms at sea. This is something you won't want to miss. Let's dive in. Ships and waves. At first, it may seem as if it's being filmed from a ship being carried by the waves straight to the island. But don't worry. The strange figure on the horizon is the prow of a cargo ship. It's thanks to this dark silhouette that we can understand what's happening in the video. All the rest behind the glass is merged into one gray-white mass from which it's difficult to distinguish even the sky and water. The good thing is that periodically, splashes fly over the side to remind us that the sea is still below. This footage was taken by a camera mounted in the cargo ship's deckhouse. No waves seem to scare such a huge ship, but the ocean always has something to surprise sailors. From afar, the waves seem small, but as they fly over the prow of the ship, it becomes clear how huge the mass of water that hit the ship is. Some waves are so powerful that they even reach the observation windows of the captain's cabin. In this recording, we see the rescue operation that took place off the east coast of Ireland in the fall of 2020. A cargo ship carrying coal was caught in a storm. The power on board had gone out, and the ship could have hit rocks. The waves were about 6 meters high in its location. A Coast Guard helicopter and 3 dinghies were sent to help the cargo ship, which was caught in the storm and lost speed. Lifeboat crews attached cables to the ship, restraining it from colliding with the rocks until a tugboat arrived at the scene. The rescue operation lasted about 12 hours, but the vessel was eventually rescued and delivered to calmer waters. None of the crew required assistance, and in this video, the ship, despite the many steel beams and slabs, seems quite small in the face of the raging elements. Part of the reason is that during big storms, the waves become so big that the ship seems to plummet down into the abyss before it collides with them. In the video, it happens several times in a row, but that's not the most surprising thing. If you look closely, you can notice that sometimes the camera jerks chaotically from side to side. A man's holding it in his hands, but what has he strapped himself to hold the camera and not roll away anywhere during such a terrible storm? A storm at sea is not necessarily accompanied by thunderclouds and graphite black skies. Sometimes giant waves can hit a ship even under a clear sky. Of course, some may say that if you compare it with the previous clips, the waves in these shots can hardly be considered huge. However, do not underestimate the power of a clear storm. Such waves can be no less dangerous for ships than the many meter-high waves we've seen before. Compared to past clips from this video, this storm doesn't look like a gale force 9 storm, but don't jump to conclusions. The distant waves can be deceiving. In a second, a huge shaft of water goes up over the side of the ship. It's hoped that all the crew members, as well as the cameramen, have long ago moved to the shelter and are watching what's happening from the portholes. Large cargo ships are some of the few types of ships that can weather any storm. In this video, the captain of a cargo supertanker steered the ship right through the storm. The crew members are filming right from the side of the ship as the hurricane winds raise high crests of waves that crash down on the vessel. It looks like they're filming from the navigation bridge where the ship is pitching the hardest. The supertanker runs straight through the heart of the storm. The captain understands that the size of the ship means the crew is in no danger, but it's not just a matter of getting the ship through the storm. It's a matter of keeping it steerable throughout the dangerous journey, and that is a real art. Either way, in the middle of the video, it turns out that the assistant captain is not recording from behind the glass, but right in the open space next to the captain's bridge. This means that by sailor standards, the storm is not very dangerous. Will we see something truly shocking? Yes, all the most interesting stuff awaits you further, so stay tuned to see it. Another storm caught on camera from aboard the cargo ship. This time, the ocean waves are so long that they block the captain's visibility, not for 1 second, but for several seconds when they come over the side. It's dangerous since an ocean storm must be watched closely and constantly. This is the first clip in this video that shows the crew staying on deck despite the bad weather. But why aren't they rushing to take shelter in the wheelhouses? The fact is that if the storm is more powerful than previously predicted, some deck equipment will need additional anchoring. Then the sailors, led by the chief mate and the boatswain, are strapped with safety cords and go out on deck while the waves crash down on the ship. It's hard to stay on the slippery deck. They'd have to work in the gaps when waves do not hit the ship. Meanwhile, the captain changes course so that the waves are less likely to flood the fort. This video is probably one of the creepiest in this video because of the chosen angle. It seems that the wall of waves overboard will never end, and the ship is plummeting rapidly into the abyss. Is it possible to maneuver in such conditions? Actually, the ship is maneuvering. We just don't notice it. In order to overcome such an area safely, ships must constantly try to keep the prow perpendicular to the waves. If by chance the waves hit the side, not every ship will be able to withstand such a blow. Therefore, small ships try to wait out the storm in seaports behind the breakwaters. But if the threat is not avoided and the passenger ship meets the storm in the middle of the ocean, the captain has no other options but to move forward. And here it is the undisputed leader in this video. In this video, we can see what happens when a ship fails to weather a storm. The Luno, a Spanish cargo ship, was forced to drift in a storm and then was swept by the wind and current to a beach off the coast of France. The cargo ship hit a breakwater running from the shore into the sea, after which it was torn into two parts by the surf pressure. The smaller part, the prow one, was thrown onto the beach, while the stern one ran aground at the far end of the breakwater. All the sailors on board were rescued and evacuated by helicopters of the French Coast Guard. The helicopters lifted the men one by one on special winches. It seems that the storm waves you and I have just seen are the biggest waves imaginable. This is only partly true because there have been bigger waves in history. You're about to see them. Rogue waves, also known as killer waves, freak waves, and extreme waves, have long been questioned for their existence. Sailors who reported encountering 30-meter-high waves in sunny weather were often deemed mentally unstable. However, we now know about the existence of killer waves, and they can be encountered both in oceans and seas. Scientists cannot definitively determine the nature of these waves, but it's believed that they arise due to the interaction of smaller waves influenced by powerful currents and strong winds in the open sea. Predicting the formation of these waves seems impossible, as they appear virtually out of nowhere and vanish without a trace, making them exceedingly difficult to study. Mount St. Helens. Many geology enthusiasts have heard about the eruption of Mount St. Helens in the northwestern United States in the spring of 1980. However, few know that this eruption was followed by a massive tsunami. At the time of the eruption, a strong earthquake, measuring 5.1 on the Richter scale, was recorded. In just 10 seconds, as a result of the tremors, the northern slope of the mountain literally disappeared, resulting in a colossal landslide. Several square kilometers of the mountain slope descended at a speed of 250 kilometers per hour, causing a 260-meter-high mega tsunami to form in nearby Spirit Lake. The Vajont Dam. The Vajont Dam was constructed in northern Italy in 1961 with the initial purpose of building a hydroelectric power plant to supply electricity to the region. However, this project faced numerous public protests due to the unstable nature of the Monte Toc slope, which had a history of frequent landslides due to its clay layer. While the dam's construction continued, the mountain exhibited cracks and minor landslides. In 1963, tragedy struck when a landslide involving over 260 million cubic meters of rock created a 250-meter-high wave. This powerful surge cascaded over the dam's edge and swept through the valley below, wiping out several villages within minutes. Alaska Tsunami. On July 9, 1958, Bill Swanson and his son were peacefully fishing in Lituya Bay, Alaska, unaware that an earthquake along an Alaskan tectonic fault was about to change everything. Suddenly, a massive rockfall of 30 million cubic meters thundered into Gilbert Inlet. The impact was so tremendous that it unleashed a localized tsunami, which smashed into the southwest shoreline of Gilbert Inlet with unimaginable force. The wave completely inundated the narrow strip of land separating the inlet from the main part of Lituya Bay. This cataclysmic event created a colossal mega tsunami wave that surged up the slope with terrifying speed and power, reaching an astonishing height of 524 meters. Millions of trees were uprooted and swept away as if they were mere twigs in its path. Remarkably, amidst this chaos, Bill and his son managed to survive unharmed, a testament to their incredible luck and resilience. That's the incredible story, everyone. Have you ever experienced a storm at sea? Share your stories in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.